on mute, so there's not too many background noises. Before we kick off, I just want to start off with acknowledgement of country. So aweswa wabim gerira kip emereta bakedida mena perdi. Wabim koka aweswa wikaidere. Kerbi war dikwadere wabaged. Ka yakanag me oke marige sepke aneberwer. E maragelar au omaru. Aweswa. So we just want to acknowledge and express our deepest thanks and gratitude to the traditional custodians of the lands that we are all joining in from today. We pay our homage to the elders, past and present, of the lands we work, live, and enjoy. We promise to tread carefully on country, observe cultural protocols, and work respectfully among their people. And as we get started, I would love you all to just please put in the chat group who your mob is and which country you're joining us from. That would be lovely. We don't have time to go around the room to introduce ourselves. So please type in the chat group and say hi. So today's session will be presented by the team from Pertame School on Aranda country. Pertame School is a community-led language revival program empowering Pertame elders to pass their language and cultural knowledge on to the next generation. Their intensive language immersion programs are focused on raising children as Pertame people within their language, culture, and knowledge systems, and training the younger generation to become cultural educators themselves. And there's so much more to their story. So I'll let them introduce themselves and talk about themselves later on. So I just want to quickly introduce myself and Ella. We just want to give a brief apology. I don't know if she's back yet, from our senior advisor, Carolyn Barker. She'll be joining us in a few minutes. But I'm Gillian Bowie. So I'm from the Samsep and Zagreb tribes up here in the Torres Strait Islands, from Erub and Mer. I'm one of the senior programs officer with Ella Woods. I'll get her to introduce herself quickly as well. So we're focusing on helping you all throughout this language education program for FLA. Ella, do you want to just quickly introduce who you are and your mob is?
A lot of very familiar faces here who I've already met, which is great. But I'm Ella, one of the project officers with First Languages Australia. Been with them now for about 3 months working on this project, but working casually with them for about 2 years. I live and work on Quandamooka country, but my family are actually Kumameri and Mananjali people from the Yugambeh language region, so a little further south. And I'm very honoured to be here meeting with all of you today.
Thanks, Ella. So today's session is we've got monthly sessions happening. Last month we had the Yauru mob putting on a presentation for us from up Broomway. That was really amazing. Today is the Pertame School, and next month we'll be looking at running a session to talk about the industrial agreement that was just released. Because we've had a lot of inquiries from our expression of interest applicants about their budget, how much we should be paying our language educators and trainees. So this industrial agreement was designed, and just recently released for employees delivering First Nations language and cultural education programs to secure the same recognition in the industrial award guidelines as do other teachers and educators. So we're going to talk about all that next month, so keep an eye out for that invitation. Just a couple of housekeeping. So we've only got 1 hour presentation by the Pertame team, and we'll have some time for questions and answers at the end. So if we could please hold back our questions or write them down to remind yourselves to ask at the end. Otherwise, just type them in the chat group, and Ella will be monitoring the chat, and she will be asking your questions at the end as well. Yes, as I said before, please place your mics on mute, just to make sure that we stick to that 1 hour presentation and there's no interruptions. So Yeah, I think I'll hand it over to Vanessa. So the team from Pertame today, we've got Vanessa Farrelly, we've got Samantha Armstrong, Sashana Armstrong. Auntie Doreen is just joining us all the way from Ballarat, I believe. So thank you. Vanessa, would you like to take over and share your screen?
Yeah, thank you so much for the introductions. Yeah, I'll just share my screen. Is everyone able to see this?
Yep.
Yep, everyone can see the screen all right. Yeah, perfect. But yeah, I'll just take it away for Sam and Yora Dorsky to introduce us.
Yeah. What I read in Samantha Armstrong, in a Ruka Pertame. Hello, my name is Samantha Armstrong. I'm a Pertame woman. So our presentation is about our Pertame Ngetya Untya, which is our Pertame language nest. So we're growing up the next generation of Pertame speakers.
Can someone please unmute Nana Doreen, just so she can talk about this slide? Dorsky on the mud.
I can't unmute her. I can only mute her.
Oh, Yora Dorsky, you're gonna have to unmute yourself. Click the little mic button. Little Nige, can you help her click the mic button to unmute herself? She's still doing it. Martin Dora.
It's good little help here. What I young Dory Nappet. I'm a Pertame elder, so here these are the people that we got our languages from. They are all Pertame people. They all come from south of Alice Springs. All our languages has died out, like the people, but we're trying to keep it strong with the language nest. We've got our parents and grandparents and cousins and uncles and brothers and sisters all in this picture, and this is what we are aiming at to bring back when we have this Pertame language nest with our little children. I'm part of the elders that I've kept my language as a kid. I'm 67 years old, but I was lucky enough to have listened with no technology, you know, just listen and learn from your elders. There was no English spoken in their homes. So these people here in the picture you see there was no English used. They were all Pertame speaking people. That's all I can really say for the moment. Thank you. Mar, younger.
And then who are these people? Yorodowski?
I'm on the computer there with my big sister there in the front there and my big brother. Now this is the generation of the people you just saw. These are the fluent speakers, and we got some young people there. As you can see, my big brother and my two sisters in front and all my cousins. We've got a family member that's passed on and we respect that. But we are teaching our people because when education started, all our languages disappeared. And this group here, we wanted to expand with the little ones now. Mm-hmm. So what group you see there, this is what you are having to look at, and these are the little ones here. I think Sam might be able to talk with this.
So we are reverting back to our old ways, as Yay Doreen had said about, because the photo in the first slide was of elders that were first language speakers of Pertame. So we're trying to reverse the damage of colonization, every other government policies by raising our babies, so reverting back to our old ways. So we're raising our babies to be Pertame speakers in a really thriving, supportive, nurtured environment. So, and it's all generational. So we have a great grandmother, grandmothers, mothers, and the kids. So all, intergenerational family, just raising the kids in Pertame in the Ngetya Untya.
Mm-hmm.
So the mother tongue, because mothers are the ones that raise children. So it's only makes perfect sense that the kids learn from the mothers. So they're always with the mothers anyway. So grandmothers, mothers, and children all are immersed in that language only space. So that's what we're doing in our nest. So nurturing the mothers to take back the language that they learn from the nest back home, everywhere else.
Mm. So our story began in 2019 when me and another Pertame elder, Nana Kathy, we were invited by the Uchi Immersion Language School. We were invited to New York, and here we met this Uchi family. Here is Harley and her father, Richard, and then their children. She now has 4 children, but at the time that we met them in New York in 2019, they only had one fluent speaker of Uchi left, which is a Native American language from the Oklahoma area in North America. So they only had one speaker left, and she was 96 years old. But because of their Master Apprentice immersion program, and they had managed to create around 20 second language fluent speakers within the younger generation from just that one elder. And now she sadly passed away during COVID time, but the language has not finished with her. There's a whole generation of young people who are now fluent speakers. And Harley, who you see here, she has never spoken to her children in the colonial language. She's only ever spoken to them in Uchi, and they're the first language Uchi speakers in 100 years. So we've watched their story and how they completely turned the situation of their language around. And so this is 2 years ago, we went and visited their language nest, their immersion preschool, and they go up all the way up to year 4 now because they've been growing with their babies. From 9 a.m. till 3 p.m., they only spoke Uchi all day and basically did all the activities that a normal preschool and school would do, but everything was in Uchi, and we sat back. We weren't allowed to talk English. We talked to each other and Pertame when we could and just were quietly observed. But the kids were joking and laughing and playing together all in Uchi. And we knew that that's something that we wanted for our kids to be able to grow up in their First Nations language. So what we did is we went back and did our Master Apprentice program. So that's adult learners working one-on-one or in a small group with a fluent elder for around 10 to 20 hours a week, doing all kinds of activities, like we cooked together. We did a lot of pictures and storybooks and a lot of role plays and conversations. And we didn't speak English at all, just spoke in nothing but Pertame and slowly picked up Pertame from our fluent elders. And while we were getting ready to start our own language nest, we had this little baby doll. Her name was Daisy Dorsky. We named her, and we were changing her nappies in Pertame, getting her to wash her hands, wash the dishes, all the things that you would do, how you would raise a baby, but role playing it with this doll in Pertame. And so we had around 4 apprentices graduate from our Master Apprentice program, and now we're the core group that coordinate our language nest, which is our immersion play group. And our elders are able to, sit back and correct us and watch. But because of our Master Apprentice program, us adults are really able to take charge and run the activities, because we know our elders don't have energy to chase around 1, 2, 3, 4-year-olds. So yeah, that's why it was so important to get adult conversational speakers. Yeah, so, and then another part of our strategy is to start raising babies as fluent speakers now that we had a few adult generation conversational speakers. So the language nest is we create a living domain for the Pertame language where English is left at the front door and we only speak Pertame all day to children from birth to 5 years old. And it's a playgroup, not a childcare, so parents have to stay with their children in the language nest. They can't just drop them off, say goodbye and take off. They got to stay there and learn with their baby. And then another part of our strategy is equipping our young parents to be fluent speakers so they can take the language home and continue raising their babies in Pertame. So we went to Montana last year and we learnt about from the Salish Immersion School. So Salish is a language around Washington area, a First Nations language, and they've developed a comprehensive, basically like a roadmap to take someone from knowing no Salish to being a completely fluent speaker. And it's like a very sequenced step-by-step manual for how to learn to speak your language. And they've been creating fluent speakers to teach in their immersion school within a year. So Native American language groups, I think around 14 or 15 in America have adapted the fluency transfer system into their own language. And so we've been working on creating a Pertame fluency transfer system so our young parents in the language nest can go on that pathway towards fluency with their babies. Yeah, and we'll do a little demonstration with you for how the fluency transfer system works. But basically how they describe to it is that our elder lives on a beautiful piece of country out bush a long way, and we as young adults live in the city. And our elder has never lived the life we have. Like they've never grown up the way that we have with all the things we have. They've grown up out bush speaking their language. And so they can't tell us how to become a fluent speaker because they've never had to learn their language as a second language. They've just grown up with it naturally. And so the best person to teach the young parents are actually people who have learned Pertame as a second language, because we know what it's like to learn Pertame as a second language. And so we basically create a roadmap so that the young parents can find where the elder is out bush, walk from the city all the way to out bush, and as they go on the journey of learning their language and becoming fluent. And so us as second language speakers will teach the young parents and the elders will teach us. And that helps reduce the stress. I think for someone who's brand new to Pertame, going in and talking to a fluent elder can be a little bit stressful. And so this is like a detailed map. And they say that the more people who go down this journey, who tread the path to fluency, the more ingrained the path will become and the easier it will be for the next person after them to find their way, like a track out bush. And so that's what we're finding. Like it took us many years to get to the level of language we are at now, but now our young parents that are coming through, they're getting there within months. And so we're really excited to see our young parents blooming. Yeah. Do you want to talk about another part of our strategy?
Another part of the strategy is reconnecting the voice of the land. So taking language back out on Pertame country. So we have cultural trips that we do every Fridays where we take the kids back out on country. So showing them places like sites of significances, animals, plants, just every little general thing around Pertame country that ties in with language and reconnecting the younger generations back on traditional country.
And then another part of our long-term strategy is the researchers said that for children in immersion preschools to actually retain the language that they've learnt, they need to stay completely immersed in their language to at least 7 or 8 years old. So if we want all of our work we've done with our birth to 5 years old in the language nest to stick, the kids, we're going to have to work out an immersion education for at least year 3 for our kids. So that means looking at doing transition year 1, year 2 and year 3 completely in Pertame. And that's never happened before in Australia. It's, you know, in New Zealand, you might have heard of the Maori program. They go from preschool all the way up to university completely in Maori. And that's pretty unheard of in Australia. So we've got a big fight on our hands, and I'm sure all of you guys know what the fight is, battling the Western education system, but to actually take back control of our children's education and deliver it to them in all Pertame for at least until year 3. And all of the research that's coming out of immersion primary and high schools in the States, in Canada, in New Zealand and Hawaii show that Indigenous children who've done their education completely in their First Nations language, they do better when they go on to mainstream English only education. They do better than Indigenous children who have only ever been in English only education. So yeah, that's a big part of our strategy in the future. And then also sharing our knowledge, exchanging with First Nations communities around Australia and all over the world, because we all have the same fight, which is to keep our language, you know, especially if we only have a handful of fluent elders left, it's to get the whole body of their knowledge and transmit it to our younger generations. And yeah, this is just a picture from our Master Apprentice Conference 2 years ago, where we had 20 fluent elders of endangered Indigenous languages. Oh, and their apprentices, so young people who wanted to work with them to become fluent speakers. Oh, yeah.
The Language Nest is a space or a language program for children from birth to 5 years old, where they are immersed in their First Nations language. So Language Nest follows how our last generation of fluent speakers of Pertame were raised, immersed within their language, family and culture on their homelands. So just reverting back to the old ways where there was no English, having that one space where they don't have English used in. So yeah, just raising them totally in Pertame. So and our approach with raising our little ones is nurturing them back within that holistic views of their Ngetya, Bandarinj, Mburka, Etlinj, Willinj, so everything all to do with their mind, body, spirit, and their soul inside, and their health as well. So that's how our approach is within the language nest. So yeah, just teaching the kids. That's because it's an immersion language nest. So that's the only thing they will hear when they come in through the doors is just Pertame until the time they leave. So we're just everyday activities in Pertame. So painting, story time, puzzles, reading, role play, all in Pertame.
Okay.
And Mburk is strengthening their little body. So we do have obstacle courses where the kids go and have their little run around, all in Pertame. They eat healthy, so we as adults all have to be good role models for our kids. So if they see us eating healthy, they will eat healthy. So no processed, refined sugars, foods in the nest. And then when it's cooler, we go out bush digging up chaba, witchetty grubs and stuff. So that's good, taking them back out on country, teaching them about bush foods and getting them to eat bush foods as well. and teaching them about good hygiene. So hand washing before meals, after meals, getting them to wash their dishes. And now we've got new routine, teeth brushing. So they learned how to brush their teeth. Itlerings, yeah, they teaching them all about the gross and fine motor skills as well. A lot of good memory games for them. Color sorting, mixing colors as well. So yeah, everything all done in Pertame. And the village, big change is when you see the kids when they coming into a space that's totally unknown, but being in that space for a period of time, then they start getting more self-confidence, a lot of good self-esteem, not only with the kids, but with their mothers. So our space is a space where anything that's happening out of the home is out of the home, but when they're in there, they're in a safe, supported space, and it's a safe space for our babies to be raised. And so yeah, all just everything about the thing, just connecting them back with kin, like the kinship, like with the family members, reconnecting a lot of grandparents and parents with their language. And yeah, it's a good thing reconnecting our language back with our own country. And this is another very important thing, is kinship. So having great-grandparents, grandparents, parents and babies, all showing them who they're related to, and always about where their place in our Pertame society is. So yeah, I mean, it takes a whole village to raise a kid. So that's what our nest is. So our Pertame community coming together to shield our kids from every outside influences, to raise them up as strong, healthy Pertame speakers.
Yeah. So we employ our young parents and carers and grandparents, and of course our elder fluent speakers. We employ them all to bring their babies to the language nest. We run 4 days a week, from Tuesday to Friday, for 4 hours a day. So we pick them up on the bus at 10 a.m., drop them off at 2 p.m., give them morning tea, lunch. And this is a huge time commitment for the young parents, who probably also have other children, other commitments that they have to manage. And so we do pay them to learn their language, because so they can put aside the time in their life to dedicate themselves. And so we employ around 12 mums, around 5 grandmother supporters, and 3 fluent elders. And then we have our coordinator staff, which is myself, Samantha, and Shania Armstrong, and we're full-time. So we do all of the running and making sure everything's running smoothly, organising, so our young mums and elders can be together 4 days a week. Yeah.
The daily routine is when they come in the door, the only thing they hear is Pertame. So we do our little introductions in Pertame, and then it's a good thing to clear their airway. So breathe, blow and cough, so they don't have all the gunk in their ears, so they can hear clearly. We have our Pertame chant that the kids recite. They recite. Nature walks and talks by elders, so taking them out for a walk, showing them names for birds, plants, even hills and the ground. And then we have our obstacle course, and we have our meditation and stretches, which is good for the kids, all done in Pertame. And we have our yoga, so we wash hands, they do hand hygiene. And then it's always having healthy meals, so they'll have healthy morning tea and at lunch. Everything that's on the screen, so it's all done in Pertame and only in Pertame. So there's no English any whatsoever. So song, dances, nursery rhymes, arts and crafts, all in Pertame.
Yes. So this is just a video. I just filmed some of what we did today with the kids on my iPhone, just to give you a sense of what our language nest looks like. Can you guys hear it all right?
Sound just cut there, Vanessa. I don't know when you went on mute.
Can you still see it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's just a little recording of what what a typical day in our language nest might look like, all the different activities, and yeah, we are seeing the kids start to talk back to us in Pertame. But yeah, often Sam has to pretend that we can't hear what they're saying.
I'm very deaf to English, so I'll just say at the Yaga warmer,
Mm.
and then get them to. We don't reward the English use, so particularly with kids that have been in that space for a period of time. So it's like I don't know, I'm always deaf when they're talking to me in English.
Mm. Yeah, so this is a little sample of the fluency transfer system. So a part of the fluency transfer system is we have half the young parents in the language nest with the kids, and then we have the other half in our office doing our fluency transfer system, and then we'll rotate in the afternoon. And this is total immersion works really well for 0 to 5-year-olds, but for adults, it can be a bit stressful when you know no language and you're just thrown into an environment with 100% a language you don't understand, especially at the beginning. So we specifically teach the young parents, like our curriculum that we have based on what the Salish did with the fluency transfer system, and it is taught through immersion as well, so we don't speak English when we teach the young parents. And part of it is we have a language, we have beginner's language and beginner's narrative, and then intermediate, and then advanced. So we've finished the beginner's language and we're working on the beginner's narrative component of it, and then we've got to do the intermediate and advanced, which is what the Salish immersion school has done, and we're modelling it off what they've done, but changing the cultural context. But yeah, so for the narratives, you actually teach, we teach our young parents how to say sentences in Pertame by teaching them traditional stories. And so one of the traditional stories we teach is, it's a story about a place on country called Punga. And so it's a story about the Pertame, which is a big goanna, and how the hunter chased the Pertame, and the Pertame jumped into a waterhole, and he tried to grab the Perente's tail, but it broke off. And then the tail is now a big gum tree that still to this day stands beside the waterhole. So we teach this story to our young mums, and they memorize the sentences, and that's how they learn Pertame. And so not only are they memorizing the sentences, but they're also memorizing Pertame traditional stories, which is something that we want to keep going down the generations as well. So yeah, we'll put the link as well. We'll share around the link to the Salish's fluency transfer system curriculum. But they've done the same thing with their traditional stories. And when we were in Montana, they did an example with us with the coyote and the dog, one of their traditional stories. And yeah, we were amazed that we were speaking Salish. We were able to tell a Salish story after one day with them, completely in Salish. Yeah, so we're going to do a mini version with you guys just as an example for how it works. I was wondering if I could get 4 volunteers from the audience to jump off mute. Maybe if Ella, if you choose 4 people. Yeah, if you want to volunteer and we'll just pretend, I've never done this online before, it's usually face to face, but we'll demonstrate how we would teach a really simple, and we've simplified it even more for you guys since you're brand new to our language, a really simplified Pertame traditional story.
No worries. Is there anyone who wants to volunteer before I go ahead and pull some people off mute? Jade Gould, hands up. We got hands up. Beautiful. Beautiful. Natalie, Jade, and Mandela, if you want to pull yourselves off mute, that'd be great. And Coco, wonderful. There's our 4.
Yeah, thank you for being brave enough to volunteer. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you what these pictures mean in English, and then after that, I'm not going to speak any English anymore, and it's going to be totally in Pertame. I've never done it online, so it might be hard without the body language, but we'll give it a go. So this is Perente. This means lying down. This means man. This means chased. This means broke. This means tail. This means hold. This means gum tree. This means he, she, or it.
Rồi.
And that means stand, stood. So, chukinyaray, Ngetya. Chonba, 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 chonba. Indum, 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 indum. Order, 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 order. Ndak, 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 ndak. Ldakak, ldakak, ldakak. O H Ngetya, chukanya witchik. O ldakak, ldakak. Tila, 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 tila. Erguk, 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 erguk. Purr, 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 purr. Ura, 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 ura. Pnam, pnam, pnam.
Nam.
What? Chukanya witchik. Oh, so chonba, indum, orda, ndak, ldakik, tila, erguk, pura, ura, pnam.
Nam.
Owa, 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 and getting you can get owa,
Owa.
Owa.
icha,
Icha.
icha, icha, owa,
Owa.
owa, icha,
Icha.
icha, nanawan, nanawan, owa, mara, nanawan,
Icha.
Mara. Nana tila, owa o icha. Nana tila, owa o icha.
Icha.
Icha,
Icha.
nana tila,
Tila đây. Yeah.
owa. Nana pura, owa o icha.
Owa. Owa.
Icha, nana tila,
Oh, is it?
nana ergo.
Oh. Tila tail. Yeah.
Nana chonba, owa o icha. Chonba,
Chowamba.
chonba,
Chowamba.
owa, mara.
Owa. Owa. Yeah.
Chonba, lan.
Owa.
Nana pura, owa o icha. Owa, mara. Nana ldakik, owa o icha.
Datu.
Icha. Nana indum,
Indem.
owa, mara.
Owa. Ichang. Yeah. Ichang. Yeah.
Indum.
Ichang.
Nana ura, owa o icha. Owa, icha. Icha.
Ichang. Yeah. Ichang.
Nana orda,
Order like nghe này. Order.
owa,
Owa. Yeah.
orda. Nana erguk, owa o icha.
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 Ndak,
Indak.
ndak,
Sorry, I forget it.
Dark.
I'm guessing it. Owa.
owa, ndak.
Owa.
Owa. So chonba, indum, orda, ndak,
Indak. Yeah.
dakik,
I didn't hear them. Sorry.
Tila.
Could you repeat, please? Inda.
Chonba. Indum. Order.
Order.
Dak.
Inda.
Dakik.
Inda. Right.
Tila.
Tila.
Erguk.
Ergo.
Pura.
What was that? Kura.
Pura.
Gura.
Gura.
Pura. Ura.
Era.
Era. Era.
Dam.
Vietnam.
Good now. Yeah. Good now.
Nana Pura. Owa Oicha.
Ichang.
Eja.
Nana Ura. Owa Oicha.
Icha.
Icha.
Eja.
Dakak. Owa
Dakik.
Oicha.
Right. Good. Owa.
Yeah.
Owa.
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 Nana Tila. Owa Oicha.
Owa.
Owa.
Repeat.
Owa.
Owa.
Nana Pura. Owa Oicha.
Icha.
Eja.
Ichang. Yeah.
Nana Erguk. Owa Oicha.
Owa.
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 Nana Tnam. Owa Oicha.
Icha.
Eja.
Ichang.
Nana Pura. Owa Oicha.
Owa.
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 Nana Ura. Owa Oicha.
Icha.
Ura. I mean, Ura. Nana Tnam. Owa Oicha.
Owa.
Owa.
Marunta. Chonba. Indum. Order.
Indum.
Order.
Dak. Dakik.
Indaka.
Dakik.
Tila.
Tila.
Tila. Ergok.
Pura.
Pura.
Order. I mean Tnam.
Yeah.
Nam. Nam.
Yeah.
So, Nyenda. Thera. Nyenda.
Yenda.
Inda.
Nyenda.
Yenda.
Nyenda.
Yinda.
Yenda.
Thera.
Pera.
Pera.
Tera. O Tera. Tera.
Pera.
Thera.
Is it Tera?
Thera.
Tera.
Pera.
Pera.
Nyenda.
Yenda.
Yinda.
Pera.
Tera.
Nyenda.
Yenda.
Yinda.
Thera.
Pera.
Pera.
Tera. Tera.
Nanawan.
Yinda.
Owa. Nanawan.
Tera.
Thera.
Pera.
Mara. And then Chonba. Nyenda o Thera.
Yinda.
Owa. Mara. And then Order. Nyenda. Thera.
Pera.
Thera.
Tera. Yeah.
Pera.
And then Ndak. Nyenda o Thera.
Pera.
Tera.
And then Indum.
Yinda.
Nyenda.
Yinda.
Yenda. Yenda.
Yinda. Yeah.
And then Ldakik. Nyenda o Thera.
Tera.
Pera.
Owa. And then Tnam. Nyenda o Thera.
Yinda.
Yenda.
Maranda. And then Erguk. Nyenda o Thera.
Yinda.
Yendo.
Nyenda.
Yinda.
And then Pura.
Tera.
Thera.
Tera.
Pera.
Tera.
And then
Thera.
Tila. Nyenda o Thera.
Yinda.
Yenda.
Yinda.
And then Ura. Nyenda o Thera.
Tera.
Pera.
Thera. Owa. So Chonba. Indum.
Chonda. Indum.
Order.
Ndak.
Inda.
Ldak.
Indakik.
Tila.
Tila.
Erguk.
Ergok.
Ura.
Pera.
Tera.
Ura.
Era.
Tera.
Order. I mean,
Order.
Nam.
Nam.
It's
probably
Nam.
finished.
Tera. Yo.
What? So Withengay, Chonba.
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 Mara. Indum.
Indom.
Order.
Orda.
Ndak.
Ndak.
Ldak.
Ildaki.
Tila.
Tila.
Ergok.
Ergok.
Herd.
Herd. Herd. Herd.
Era.
Era. Era.
Nam.
Onam.
Onam.
Oa. Marandora.
Is that standing or man? Man standing.
Stand. Oronam.
O-
Nam. Mari.
So with and gay pura. I mean Egypt. So
Dum. Mari dum.
order.
Orda.
Orda.
Chonba.
Jonpa.
Tila.
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 Ergok.
Ergok.
Indum.
Indom.
Era.
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 Nam.
Nam.
Ldak.
Na.
Indaki. Indaki.
Ndak.
Indak.
Oa.
Indak. Indaki. Indak.
Marandora.
Indaki.
Chonba. Indum. Orda. Ndak. Ldak. Tila. Ergok. Hura. Ura. Nam. Nanawan.
Nona.
Marandora. Chonba.
Jonpa. Jonpa.
Indom.
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 Nanawan.
Or.
Orda. Orda. Orda.
Nanawan.
Indak.
Indak. Indar.
Indak.
Oh.
Indak.
Indaki.
Indaki. Indaki.
Ldak.
Ildaki.
Oh.
Ildaki.
Ilak.
Nanawan.
Tila.
Tila.
Tila. Tila.
Nanawan.
Indar.
Ergok.
Ergok. Nanawan.
Hera.
Marandora. Nanawan. Oa.
Urda. Something.
Ura.
Era.
Era.
Nanawan.
Inam.
Inam.
Nam.
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 Oa. Marandora. Rangara Marambark. So you guys did really good. So that was just learning the individual words. And then, so we've only got 5 minutes left, but I'll try and quickly show you. Now we're going to pair it with the pictures. So yeah, so this picture means the parenti is laying down. This picture means the man chased the parenti. This means the man grabbed the tail, the parenti's tail. The tail broke. And a gum tree stands where the tail broke.
Down. Yeah. Oh. Good.
Chukan yare, each wichik. Chukan yare. Chonba indum. Chonba indum. Chonba indum. Chonba indum.
Chonba indum.
Chonba ndak.
Chonba indum.
Chonba ndak. Chukan yare. Watan. Chengechek. Ordal chonba ndak. Ordal chonba ndak. Ordal tila erguk. Ordal tila erguk. Ordal tila erguk. Tila ldakak. Tila ldakak. Tila ldakak. Tila ldakak. Tila puratnam. Tila puratnam. Tila puratnam. Chon beindam. Ordal chonba ndak. Ordal tila erguk, tila ldakik, tila erapurat nam. Nana ordul tila erguk, oa o itja.
Itja.
Itja. Nana tila ldakik, oa o itja. Itja. Nana chon beindam,
Indum.
Ola.
oa o itja.
Ola.
Oa marang
Oa.
chon beindam.
Chon ba endam.
Nana tila ldakik, oa o itja.
Ola.
Itja.
Ija.
Nana ordul tila erguk, oa o itja.
Itja.
Nana
Tila.
chon ndak,
Oa.
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 Nana tila erapuratnam, oa o itja.
Ija.
Ija.
Nana ordul tila erguk,
Oa.
Oa. Oa.
Oa.
Oa.
Nana tila erapuratnam, oa o itja.
Ija.
Ija.
Tila ldakik,
Oa.
Oa.
Dakik.
Nana tila erapuratnam, oa o itja.
Oa.
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 Rangaramara. So nyenda, okay?
Nienda.
Oa.
Inda.
Tera, okay, tera.
Oa.
Oa.
Nyenda.
Inda.
Nyenda.
Tera.
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 And then til dakik. Nyend o tera. Tera.
Tera.
Tera.
And then ordel chonba ndak. Nyend o tera.
Nienda.
Nyenda.
Tera.
And then chonba indam. Nyend o tera.
Tera.
Tera. Tera.
Tera.
And then ordel tila erguk. Nyend o tera.
Nienda.
Nyenda.
Inda.
And then tila erapuratnam. Nyend o tera.
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 And then tila dakik. Nyend o tera.
Nienda.
Inda.
Ora. Oa. The chon beindam, ordel chon bandak, ordel tila erguk, tila dakik, tila erapuratnam. Oa. The withengay, chon beindam.
Chon ba endam.
Oa.
Chon.
Okay.
Oa.
Oa.
Chon beindam. Chon beindam.
Chon ba endem.
Ordel chon bandak. Okay.
Enda.
Ordel chon bandak.
Order children.
Inda.
Oa. Ordel chon bandak.
Yes.
Withengay.
Oa.
Oa.
Ordel
Oa.
chon bandak.
Oa.
Ordel tila erguk. Ordel tila erguk. Ordel
Oa.
tila erguk.
Oa.
Til dakik. Til dakik.
Dakit.
Til dakik.
Oa.
Oa.
Tila erapuratnam.
Tila
Tila erapuratnam.
Oa.
Tera.
Nam.
Oa.
Oa.
Oa. So now you guys repeat after me. Withengay. Chon beindam.
Chon ba
Chon
endam.
ba endam.
Chon beindam.
Chon by
Chon
Chon
ba
ba
endam.
endam.
Chon beindam.
Chon by
Chon ba
Chon ba
endam.
endam.
Ordel chon batendak.
Chon button da.
Order.
Ordel chon bendak.
Order. Chon ba enda.
Chon by da.
Ordel tila erguk.
Order.
Oral
Tila Erkut.
Ergo.
Ora Tila Ilduk.
Tila Ildakik.
Tila
Tila Endakit.
Tila Erapurtnam.
Tila
Nam. Nam.
Chon Beindam. Ordal Chon Dak. Ordal Tila Erguk. Til Dakik. Tila Erapurtnam. Oa? So none the one.
Coba Edam.
Indum.
Tora.
Ora Indum.
Oa? Marantora. None the one.
Ora Anai.
Oh.
Ordal Oa?
Odel
Orang di
Endak.
Oa?
Awa.
Oh.
Ordal
Ora
Odel
Dak.
Oral.
Ba Endak.
Oral and dark.
Ora Len.
Chill.
None the one.
I'm lost now.
Sorry, I've lost it.
Oa?
Yeah.
So Chon Beindam. Ordal Chon Beindak. Ordal Tila Erguk.
Erkut.
Ergo.
Dakik.
Endakik. Ergo. Dakik.
Erapurtnam.
Pertame.
Oa? None the one.
Jericho. That
Oa?
Jericho.
Oa? Ordal Tila Erguk.
Chile.
Tila.
Tila Erduk.
Erduk.
None the one.
Erduk.
Tila Endakit. Nah.
Oa? Tila Dakik. None the one.
Ora.
Tila.
Peranam.
Peram.
Tila Erapurtnam.
Erpernam.
Era Pertame.
Oh, so very good, you guys. You just told a whole story in a language you've never heard before. It was a talk. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually not as hard as this, I think, because it's online and you guys have literally never heard Pertame before, but you did a great job. Yeah, and the idea is not to correct pronunciation, not to focus too much on making sure you say it perfectly the very first time, but just give people the opportunity to have a go saying it. And pronunciation corrects over time. Yeah, basically how babies, they might start saying spaghetti or something, and you don't say, it's not spaghetti, it's spaghetti. You need to say it right, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, how cute, spaghetti. And then eventually they'll say it correctly. So adult learners are the same. Yeah. But yeah, so this is just our social media, and we've got our fluency transfer system stuff on our website, pertameschool.org. We got learning resources. But yeah, and then we'll link the Salish's immersion schools fluency transfer stuff as well. Yeah. And yeah, just thanks for all of our supporters who made this possible. But now I think it'd be great to open it up if you have any questions of me, Sam, or Yorodorski, Nana Doreen.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa and Sam and Anu Doreen. That was incredible and really, I've heard you talk before, but it's excellent to hear about what you're doing. It's incredible. There was a few questions in the chat, and we can also open up the floor to anyone else who would like to, but we might start with the chat questions. So wondering, how long has Pertame School been operating?
We first started in 2016, 2016 or 15, one of our elders, Christabel Swan, who founded the Pertame school, but unfortunately her dementia has gotten to a point where she can no longer be involved and has to focus on her health, unfortunately. But yeah, she started it. She took a philanthropic group like a wealthy family onto her homelands and told them about her dream to start a language school. And they gave the first donation, which is I think about 40 grand. They're called the 4S Foundation. And then from that, we ran a few on country camps, taking the kids out bush. And then, yeah, in 2019, we got connected with the Untya Immersion School. And that's when, yeah, we started to really focus on creating new fluent speakers. Yeah, so 2015, I'd say. Yeah.
Lovely. Another question there. Do you usually teach the transfer system one-on-one or in a group?
Yeah, we teach it in a group. So me and Shania, our other staff member, like usually she'll teach the beginners and I'll teach a little bit more advanced, and then we'll just switch over. And Sam runs the language now, so she's with the babies.
I'm with the kids all day, every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Susan's asking, is Pertame one of the many languages in Alice Springs area, or whereabouts are you located, perhaps?
We're in Alice Springs. So Alice Springs is, well, it's very diverse. So we're lucky to have so much other language groups surrounding Alice Springs, but in the terms of endangered, so we're one of probably about 2 that are endangered in the Central Australian region. But Alice Springs there's Western Aranda, Eastern, Central, Yowara, Kadich, Warlpiri, Lurja, Pindaby. So yeah, a lot of different other language groups around Alice Springs. So we're very lucky to be based in Alice Springs.
Mm.
Fabulous. And just another little thing to piggyback on there. Where do you operate out of? You work out of a school at the moment, do you?
We're fortunate to have a lovely space from the Yiprinya School. So Yiprinya School is an independent school that's been running since 1975. So it's, yeah, bilingual school. So it was established for kids living on the fringe camps, town camps. So getting them, a lot of kids could not, they couldn't be educated in the Western education system. So a lot of parents, grandparents, they really campaigned for a bilingual school. So they learnt mainstream education, but within their own languages. So we run out of a childcare centre, which is lovely. We love our space. So do the kids, because they got a lot of swings in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a really lovely space, and the kids are surrounded by other language groups. So yeah, there's about 4 other language groups that get taught here, from upper primary to lower primary.
Yeah, so Yiprinya kindly let us use their whole childcare centre free of charge, which we're so grateful for. Yeah.
Easy. We have Mandela here. Is there an opportunity to have another MAP conference like in 2022? And Lynette, are you talking about a similar sort of thing? Yeah.
We're part of the Bachelor. There's Lynette and Mandela. Yeah, so part of Bachelor, so that's another thing that we're going to have to probably follow up, because I've been getting asked a lot of questions as well. So, and we'd love to. And this is, the fluency transfer system is a really good thing for reclamation language groups as well as, ones with endangered languages.
Yeah, because the fluency transfer system, it uses the same methods as the Master Apprentice program, but it's just about having a structure. So when we did the Master Apprentice, it was total immersion, but it was unstructured. But the fluency transfer system, it basically goes, it grows with the learner, and like gives the learner just enough for them to progress on to the next stage, and it's highly structured. and it just makes sure that every single word and phrase that they need to know, they get at the right time. So yeah, Fluency Transfer System basically is the Master Apprentice, but I think it's a lot more structured, which means it is actually learners learn quicker. So that's what we're finding. Like it took us years to get to where we are with the Master Apprentice, but this Fluency Transfer System, like it can create fluent speakers in a year, which is what the Salish has been finding. So yeah, even though it is teaching in full immersion, like no English, yeah, it is a lot of work to develop it. But once you've got it, you've got a roadmap to fluency for the rest of time for your language.
So we'll have to keep you posted on our next, or if there's another MAP conference in the works.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely we'll share the contact details of our Salish teachers. And, you know, like they have conferences too. I'm not sure if you guys are up for a trip to America, or we might be able to get them to come here or run a training, because we've only done the beginners, whereas they're the ones that pioneered the whole thing. So yeah, I think they would be able to explain it better than we are. We're just still finding our feet with this system, but our young parents really like it. Yeah, and they really like, especially the traditional story part of it. Yeah. And yeah, Nana Dorsky, we've had a few week-long intensives with her where we record everything, and on the SoundCloud, our young parents can go and all of the words that you heard me teach you, they can go and listen to that at home on our SoundCloud as well. Yeah, so that's good for their revision. And then they hear it for 4 hours every single day in the language nest as well, which really helps. I think you need to have all of those things. You need to listen to the recordings at home, get the direct face-to-face instruction with the Fluency Transfer System, and then plus be in an immersion environment for 4 days a week. And that's when you start to progress in language. You've really just got to live it. Yeah, it's a lot of dedication to become a speaker of a language. Like it's a huge commitment.
We'll be sending out a link to the recording for this, so potentially we could grab the details for the Salish system and include that in our email if that worked, Vanessa.
Yeah.
Natalie's thrown a question here. Do you have challenges like attendance, and what are some of the challenges you've had to face and overcome?
Oh yeah, I think we do have hiccups, so we don't run really smoothly. So it's mostly to do with home life as well. So we do have consistent parents that do come a lot, but then, you know, even with that consistency, there is a lot of like sorry business, everything else. And English is the worst thing with adults. So yeah, this is a nice little sign you use within not really enforcing the English in the space. So it's like, yes, you know, don't only put if you hear somebody talking and then there's this here, it's like, no English, only put no English, because you don't want it to tell grown adults off like, it's a lintering gidget, you know, it's just like, yeah, because we're younger, so we don't want to tell older people. So it's always, English is the hardest thing, and that comes from adults.
Yeah,
adults.
It's really difficult when we have to tell our aunties or our nanas, can you please not talk English? Can you please talk Pertame? And us young people, you know, in our culture, we've got to be very respectful to our elders. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's about trying to get them to understand the why, and it is very hard to, especially if you don't know the language, to leave English alone and basically be in a powerless position of not being able to communicate until you learn more. But yeah, and just like even yesterday, we only had one young mum turn up, and then today we had like 6. So yeah, so it is yeah, because our young parents have a lot of things going on, like other children, they have school meetings all the time, kids might be sick, they might have stuff going on at home, people pass away, you know, like, yeah, with attendance is up and down, but that's just the part of working with your own community. Yeah. But I think the main thing we got to do is just keep on going. Like just never give up. And sometimes you feel like it's a failure, and then the next day you've got everybody there and you've got more kids than you can handle. Yeah, but just I think the key thing is to never give up. Just keep on going and going and going, and yeah.
Very cool. Susan was just asking, where did you do your training? Susan, we are going to send a link to the training that they did, but I don't know if you just want to briefly recap it again, Vanessa.
We traveled to Montana last year to do. We went to an immersion symposium run by the Salish Immersion School. That's where we did our training. But yeah, it would be good to get them over here and potentially even do a Australian one, because we went to, it was the Cree people who were from that reservation that we went to in Montana, and they invited the Salish over to do a workshop with their community, and we just piggybacked on the Cree training. But yeah, I think if we could if there's enough language groups interested, we could see if the Salish school was interested in coming to Australia to do a fluency transfer system training with Australian languages. I think that could be worthwhile. We always need more, like we don't know everything yet, we're just beginning this journey. Yeah.
Mandela's just asked, your NEST program is run Monday to Friday, is that right?
Tuesday to Friday. Monday's our planning day, but eventually it would be great to run Monday to Friday. Yeah, that's what a lot of other immersion schools do, and it would be like in the future we would have to move that way so the kids would get enough exposure to the language to become fluent speakers. But yeah, we're not quite that ready yet, but yeah, maybe next year we'll be ready to do the Monday to Friday. Yeah.
Lynette's just mentioned Living Languages do a similar training, but they are fully booked. It'd be great to see you guys doing workshops, but I think you sort of mentioned to us it's sort of a licensed program, is that right? Or you can't deliver the training yourself?
I think we've got to adapt that into our thing.
Yeah.
Because everything they own it, like the workbooks.
Yeah.
That is the copyright, yeah.
Yeah, they have copyright to it, but only so somebody else can't copyright it and stop it from being used. So I think they just want you to reach out to them and send an email and get their consent, and then they'll give it out freely. Like they give it out freely and run trainings for any language group around the world to adapt. But yeah, I think they just want to touch base with you first. Yeah, but we're the first Australian language group to do it. So we did I basically had to redo everything so it would be culturally relevant for the desert people, because they live in the snow, so that their culture is completely different. But yeah, we'd be happy to, with their permission, share the way that we've adapted it to the Australian context. But if you're a saltwater person, that would be completely different to us desert as well. So it is going to take a lot of adapting. Yeah.
Yep. Lovely. Is there anyone else? There was a few hands up around the room. Didn't know if anyone else wants to come off mute. Any other?
My question already got answered. Hi, Ness. Haven't seen you for ages. Yeah, no, my question was about the Salish stuff and like the possibility of doing training here. Yeah, but you already answered.
Yeah. I'll definitely follow them up, and I'll get Ella to send around their email address, their website, our website. So yeah, you can check it all out. But yeah, it is important, I think, to do the training, or even if we just organize a Zoom call if they're not able to come anytime soon. Yeah, because I just showed you just a tiny fraction of the narrative part of the beginner fluency transfer system. So usually for that one story, we have 20 pictures that tells that story, but I just chose 5 of the simplest pictures to teach you guys in this one little 20-minute demonstration.
And you're still all good.
Yeah, you did amazing. But yeah, that story actually has 20 pictures, and there's 16 traditional stories, each with 20 pictures. Yeah, so it is quite comprehensive, the narrative part. Yeah.
Yep. And Carolyn has just jumped in the chat there to say, so obviously our team is working with the network of language centres and people who are going to be part of the First Nations languages education program. And so if this is something that everyone would really like, we'd love to have talks to see if there's something that could be possible to be brought together. So definitely watch this space. Anyone else? A couple of other hands up there. Coco, did you have a question?
I think that was from before.
From before, yep.
Volunteering.
Erin, was that you with a question there?
Yeah, hi everyone. Just you mentioned earlier that you pay mothers to attend, or everyone to attend to run the classes. Don't need to say specifically how much, but how did you arrive on a figure for people?
Yeah, so we pay all our young parents $30 an hour, and we pay our elders $50 an hour. And then us coordinators, we're all on different wages. Pertame School runs out a Bachelor Institute of Indigenous Tertiary Education. So we're just on pay scales like of a normal full-time employee with them. But yeah, we pay our elders and our apprentices through like a non-invoice, like we pay them like consultants. So they fill out a statement by supplier form, tick that it's a hobby, and they fill out timesheets. Yeah, so basically they're not official employees. They're like, we contract them basically, but they don't have ABNs, so they fill out a statement by supplier form. And then if they're looking really dedicated, like Sam's daughter who has 3 boys in the language nest, we've just put her on a part-time contract with Bachelor because she's been so dedicated. Yeah. So yeah, we slowly, because I think a lot of people have Centrelink and they can't work too much without affecting their payments. So we keep it, flexible for people.
You know, that's really good, really helpful too, I guess, to for others to hear if they're thinking of doing a similar thing of like, you know, paying community members to attend to do training, how they would even go about doing that to coming to a figure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're welcome. And yeah, we were really lucky to get government funding for the first time, which is why we were able to do such a big project. But before that, we've just philanthropy, like these wealthy people in Sydney and Melbourne that want to give back. That's for years and years, government never gave us a single cent, and we just ran off philanthropy. And yeah, I think that's a great avenue for Indigenous language groups to pursue, because yeah, I think there is a lot of people, wealthy people, that feel guilty about how they got so much money on Aboriginal land and do want to give back. Yeah, so it is a big opportunity for us, especially because you know, we're the flavour of the month for government right now because of the Closing the Gap and because it's the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, but who knows how long that'll last. And the election's coming up, we might get a Liberal government and then all our funding might dry up again. So I think, yeah, looking at philanthropy as a way to keep funding, you know, so we can keep our elders and our staff so we don't just lose all of our positions and people don't lose their jobs. Yeah. But yeah, that's a big conversation, is funding our language work. That's a whole nother Zoom call.
Yeah, so we've only got 4 minutes left to be exact. But we would like to hear from you all about, like, just get feedback from you all about what else you would like us to bring. Like, we will definitely focus on this fluency transfer system with Pertame and with the Salish model. And but anything else you would like training in, like next month, because we had so many questions about the wages and all that. That's why next month's session will be based on the new industrial agreement guidelines that was just released. So we can talk a bit more about wages and all that next month as well. But would definitely want to get your feedback, because we do want to give you what you need. Like what other professional development sessions would you like that would benefit you in your language learning program and activities? you can flick us an email or chuck it in the chat here before you head off, and we'll just make a note of that, and we'll focus on bringing that to you as well. I think that's it for now. If we have maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then we can sign off. I think Mandela has a question there.
Carolyn
For
just jumped
FLA.
in and answered it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, do you want to read that, Ella?
Yeah. So Mandela was just asking a question for FLA, if we're aware of any platforms or access to philanthropic funding that we know of. And Carolyn's just jumped in there to say, it's a great question. There isn't any at the moment, but Vanessa has great contacts with organisations that help people get started in that space, which she's happy to share, and FLA could work to set something up with them if that is for interest. We'd be absolutely happy to.
Sorry, Mandela, I misinterpreted that too. I thought you were asking whether FLA had one, but there are lots. We could collate a list. Vanessa?
Yeah, there's an organisation called First Nations Futures. I'm not sure, Warwick Thornton's daughter, Rona Glynn, started it up. But yeah, basically it's for philanthropists to give to this organisation, and then this organisation finds grassroots Indigenous-led projects that can to link them up with the philanthropy. Because I think a lot of philanthropists feel like, why should we decide which Aboriginal project gets funding? We're just white in Sydney, like what do we know? So they want to give it to First Nations Futures so a board of Indigenous people can choose where the money should go. And I know they fund, we're part of it. If you look up First Nations Futures. And another language project, the Callum Dixon's language project is in it as well. But yeah, so they've got a few language projects that are connected to it. But yeah, I think they're a really good source of about linking up philanthropy with grassroots Indigenous-led projects, like Language Revival.
Yeah, I know last year I was invited to I think called IFIP, International Funders for Indigenous Programs or something, but it was an international conference, but it was just basically, it was in Mexico last year, only because I used to work in the land and sea space, but it was basically a conference where all these philanthropic organizations go to one place and you get to present your project or whatnot. It wasn't on an international scale, but I also know they've just recruited someone in Australia as a coordinator for Australia to be a part of that organisation, because I think that was an outcome from the conference last year, to have more representation from Australia. Yeah, it's called IFIP, International Funders of First Nations Programs or something. But that's what I was kind of seeing, if there was like a one-stop shop where you can apply or put your proposal forward or project or whatnot, that all philanthropic organisations that are interested in working with First Nations people, that they can access that or something.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mandela.
I just recommend just take photos of everything you do. Good visuals is important for them. Like, they got to see it to believe it. There's this one program called Canva. You probably all heard of it. We make all of our language resources on it, all our reports, newsletters, social media, everything we make on Canva. I definitely recommend that, and just have really good images to tell your story. And that's the best thing for philanthropy. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Vanessa. Well, we've reached 5:30, 5:32. Thank you, everyone, for attending. So keep an eye out for the follow-up email from this session. Ella will be sending that recording out, with some of these links that have been mentioned today as well. And also keep an eye out for next month's session about the industrial agreement. Feel free to contact Ella and I in between now and then if you need help with anything or have any further questions. We'll be happy to help you out. I think that's it. But thank you all for coming, and thank you very much, Vanessa and the Pertame team. Thank you, Auntie Doreen, for joining us from Ballarat, Victoria. Thank you very much. That was amazing. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you again next time, and looking forward to keeping in touch with you. Thank you.
Everyone.